the epic journey of humanity to the moon. The journey of humankind to the moon is one of the most remarkable stories in modern history. It was the result of a combination of scientific ingenuity, geopolitical rivalry, and an insatiable desire to explore the unknown. To fully understand how humanity reached the moon, we must go back several decades and examine the events that led to this monumental achievement. The beginning of the space race. The story begins during the Cold War, a period of tension between the United States and the Soviet Union that lasted from the end of World War II until the fall of the USSR in 1991. During the 1950s and 1960s, both superpowers competed on multiple fronts, and space exploration became one of the main arenas of this rivalry. The first major breakthrough in this competition was achieved by the Soviet Union on October 4, 1957, when it launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite to orbit the Earth. This milestone shocked and alarmed the United States, prompting them to immediately redouble their efforts to catch up with the Soviets. Soon after, on April 12, 1961, the Soviets achieved another stunning feat. Yuri Gagarin became the first human to travel to space and orbit the Earth aboard the spacecraft Vostok 1. In response to these Soviet advances, the United States could not afford to fall behind. On May 25, 1961, President John F. Kennedy delivered a bold challenge to the nation. In a speech before Congress, he declared, "I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth." Thus, the ambitious Apollo program, led by NASA, was born. The Apollo program, the race to the moon. NASA began working intensely to develop the technology necessary to send humans to the moon. Several test programs were launched, including the Mercury project and the Gemini project, which served as crucial precursors to the Apollo program. Each of these initiatives allowed NASA to test flight systems, communications, and orbital maneuvers essential for the success of a lunar landing. The road to the moon was not easy. One of the most tragic moments occurred on January 27, 1967, when the astronauts of Apollo 1, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee, perished in a fire inside their capsule during a ground test. This disaster led to a thorough review of procedures and the redesign of the command module, delaying the program but ultimately improving the safety of future missions. Despite this setback, NASA pressed on. Missions like Apollo 7, the first crewed mission of the program, and Apollo 8, which achieved another milestone by becoming the first mission to orbit the moon in December 1968, demonstrated that the United States was getting closer to fulfilling Kennedy's promise. Next came Apollo 9 and Apollo 10, key tests that ensured the lunar landing systems worked correctly. Finally, with all tests completed, the stage was set for Apollo 11. Apollo 11, the giant leap for mankind. On July 16, 1969, at 9:32 a.m. local time in Florida, a Saturn V rocket, the most powerful ever built, lifted off from the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral. On board were 3 astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Their destination, the moon. The journey lasted 4 days. During the voyage, the astronauts carried out various maneuvers to adjust their trajectory and prepare for the landing. Finally, on July 20, 1969, the Eagle lunar module, piloted by Armstrong and Aldrin, separated from the Columbia command module, where Michael Collins remained in lunar orbit. The descent was tense. As Armstrong manually piloted the Eagle module to avoid a rocky area, alarms in the module's computer began to sound, indicating issues with the system's memory. The control room in Houston confirmed that they could proceed. With little fuel remaining, Armstrong successfully landed the module in the Sea of Tranquility at 2017 Universal Time Coordinated. Then, Armstrong uttered the historic words, "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." The first step on the moon. 6.5 hours later, on July 21, 1969, Neil Armstrong descended the ladder of the lunar module. At 2:56 Universal Time Coordinated, he placed his foot on the lunar surface and spoke his now legendary phrase, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." Shortly after, Buzz Aldrin joined him on the lunar surface. For about 2.5 hours, both astronauts explored the area, collected rock and soil samples, and planted an American flag. They also set up scientific instruments to measure seismic activity and radiation on the moon. Meanwhile, Michael Collins remained in orbit, ensuring that the command module was ready for their return. The triumphant return and the impact on society. After completing their mission on the lunar surface, Armstrong and Aldrin launched from the moon in the Eagle module and successfully docked with the Columbia command module, where Collins was waiting. From there, they set course for Earth. On July 24, 1969, after a successful atmospheric re-entry, the Columbia capsule splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, where it was recovered by the crew of the USS Hornet aircraft carrier. The 3 astronauts were welcomed as heroes and placed in quarantine to prevent any possible lunar contamination. The impact of the moon landing on society was enormous. It became a symbol of human ingenuity and what humanity could achieve with determination and cooperation. It also spurred technological advancements, leading to developments in telecommunications, computing, and materials science that continue to benefit everyday life today. Additionally, it left an indelible cultural legacy, inspiring countless films, books, and dreams of space exploration. In total, NASA successfully carried out 6 moon landings between 1969 and 1972. However, after Apollo 17, the program was canceled due to high costs and declining public interest. Today, humanity continues to dream of returning to the moon and venturing even further, to Mars and beyond the solar system. But it all began with that small step that forever changed our perspective of the universe.